We continue our study in the Gospel of Matthew in the Sermon on the Mount, and we are going to be looking at Matthew chapter 5 and verses 10 to 12. And I'm going to be reading from the New American Standard Bible. Blessed are those who have been persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you, and say all kinds of evil against you falsely on account of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. What we want to look at here is the impact of revolutionary ideas on society. And in that sense, we want to kind of put things in perspective for what the church does and what the church is about, and to see, in a sense, that it's not too surprising the way the world reacts to the church. Let me give you a couple of examples. One of the most revolutionary scientific theories of the 20th century deals with the whole issue of plate tectonics. In 1912, Alfred Wegener published a foundational work on this subject. Now, he publishes the book in 1912, but it would take the better part of 50 years before his theory was to gain wide acceptance. Let's look at a different realm of human endeavor. In the latter part of the 19th century, you have emerged in French painting what is known as the Impressionist movement. This approach to painting represents a clear break from the past in terms of approach and style. It was not readily accepted as art. Most of the initial Impressionists were, cast aside. They were questioned. In time, both Impressionism and plate tectonics were to be accepted. What we see in these two examples is how culture and society tends to conformity. When it comes and ideas and approaches that challenge the way things are done are not readily accepted. The above paragraph sets the background for what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5 and verses 10 to 12. You see, if we are to understand the dynamic of how the Christian faith works within our culture, we need to see it in light of a broader principle, the principle that says society seeks conformity. If a revolutionary geological theory or a revolutionary approach to painting creates a kerfuffle, can we expect any less for a belief system that challenges our world's beliefs and values? Jesus was not stupid. Jesus had grown up in a small town. He would have understood that culture and society seek conformity. Jesus was not an idealist, as it is sometimes used. Rather, he was a realist. Now, let us work backwards for a moment. If we go back through history and we can see a geological theory or an approach to painting upsetting the prevailing culture, what does it say of a church that is seen by the wider culture as non-offensive? It says that we as a church are not really any different than the world around us. The message of the church may be cast in religious language, but the ideas are largely no different than the prevailing culture. Do we in the church really have any different views on money? Do we have any really different ideas on divorce? Do we really have any different ideas on how we use our time and what our time is invested in? Now, we are simplifying things a bit, but a church that is non-offensive to the world it is in would seem to be a church that has lost sight of what it is to be about. To be a believer in Jesus Christ is to give your life to a belief system that is always at odds with the world around us. The world around us seeks conformity to its beliefs and practices. If a scientist or painter could upset the world they are in, we should not be surprised if it is so for the believer in Jesus Christ. Paul and Barnabas, at the end of their first missionary journey, revisited the new churches to encourage and support them in the faith. In Acts 14:22, they give the people these words: "We must go through many hardships to enter the kingdom of God." That is the NIV translation. It is a consistent message of Scripture that to be of faith is to be at odds with the world around us.